Welcome! Today we'll learn about the Battle of Cricare. In this fight, around 700 Indians used bows and arrows to resist against 200 Portuguese soldiers who were equipped with firearms and supported by cannon bombardment. We have first-hand accounts describing the defenders. A Portuguese historian wrote, "They are called Aimorés. Their tongue is different to that of other Indians. No one can understand them. Their bodies are so tall and large that they almost seem like giants. They are very tall." Although they were famous as fierce warriors, the Aimorés were also talented in diplomacy because they convinced all of their enemies to unite. This way, they could resist the European invasion together. When the Portuguese arrived in South America, they were met with arrows and the shock of discovering a tribe of cannibal warriors. These Indians would always eat their enemies. The Aimorés only retreated from the initial encounter after receiving heavy cannon fire, and those who lingered were enslaved and raped by the colonizing power. But soon the opportunity presented itself, and the surviving Aimorés managed to destroy the Portuguese settlements in the region. The prisoners were probably eaten. In fear of being made lunch by the natives, the local Portuguese chief rallied the dispersed settlers and appealed for help to the general governor of Brazil, who immediately sent his son, Fernão de Sá, with the mission of destroying their cannibal enemies. The Aimorés were not surprised by the movement of European troops, so they raised a complex fortress between the river Saint Matthew and one of its affluents. It consisted of 3 interconnected fortifications that were meant to offer tactical advantage to the defenders in battle. This kind of stronghold was traditionally used in the wars between these Native Americans. Meanwhile, the Portuguese expedition was joined by 2 caravels, highly maneuverable ships armed with more cannons and soldiers ready for battle. Being pressured by the fact that the Indian fortress endangered the surrounding Portuguese settlements that were recently reconstructed, the commander Fernão de Sá decided to take the offensive. Every night, the Indian coalition would position their bowmen on the river bank, just waiting for the Portuguese to come. But then, they did. When the Portuguese attacked, the Indians started shooting arrows, but were repelled by the cannons. Then, they retreated to the fortress. With their landing zone free of enemies, the European troops disembarked and entered formation, raising their shields and rapidly advancing. The shields offered good protection against the arrows, and their arquebuses were devastating damage. Eventually, they reached the wall, and using axes, they were able to penetrate the right wing. This resulted in brutal melee combat. The Indians shot a final volley of arrows before retreating, because despite their ferocity, clubs were no match to swords. The Europeans finished off the ones who stayed behind and pursued the main force. The Indians prepared for a final stand. Meanwhile, the Portuguese were harassed by archers and slingers. Perhaps a wise decision, the Europeans did not take the bait. Because they had superior weapons, the commander decided to stop pursuing and return fire. Eventually, the Portuguese ran out of gunpowder, so the only option was to engage. Meanwhile, their ships had to retreat due to the low tide, otherwise the vessels would run aground. Seeing an opportunity, the Portuguese commander charged too far into the Indian lines, being captured. This renewed the morale of the defenders and made the attackers waver. After the caravel captain, Diogo Álvares, was killed, the Europeans were routed. Then the Indians gave pursuit. Eventually, The Portuguese reached the river bank. However, they only found themselves trapped between the cannibalistic Aimorés and the river itself, because the ships were no longer there. Many drowned trying to swim back to the ships, and many were killed on the spot, but most were taken as prisoners, perhaps to become food. It was a successful defense for the Indians and a disaster to the Portuguese. Thanks to this battle, the Aimorés didn't go extinct, while many other tribes did. Many other conflicts would occur between these factions. Eventually, these Indians would completely destroy the Portuguese economy in the region. This project was inspired by the YouTubers listed below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a nice day.